Good morning, everyone. My name is RJ Winters. I'm a second-year MBA student here at Vanderbilt Owen. With a background in investment banking, I've realized my passion is pursuing a career in venture, so I'm going to enjoy the next group of upcoming speakers just as much as you are. We're also glad that you have chosen to join us for the Vanderbilt Entrepreneurship Conference 2022, presented by the Center for Entrepreneurship. This is the investor track. For the next roughly 60 minutes, you're going to hear from a collection of investors who have agreed to give behind-the-scenes view at investing, openly share how they work with various entrepreneurs, and what they look for in investment opportunities. So regardless of your interest on the venture side, there is something for you. So I invite you to enjoy these speakers and their stories as they share their own journey and lessons learned along the way. First, I'd like to introduce Chris Booker, 2007 graduate and partner at Frist Cressey Ventures. Chris is a healthcare venture capitalist and Vanderbilt University graduate. He's been an investor in over 75 innovative healthcare companies over his career, with a common goal being a dedication to improving the quality of healthcare. So Chris, I'll let you take it from here with Relationships Matter, I Don't.
Thank you very much. All right, everybody can hear me. So when Stacy asked, hey, I'd love for you to speak at this conference, I said, great, what do you want me to talk about? And she said, well, just talk about your career journey. You're a venture capitalist, talk about your kind of career journey. And I thought about it for a second, and after kind of thinking for a couple minutes, I realized that my career journey was kind of meaningless when I looked at it from me, or I. So throughout this conversation, I'll tell you a couple stories, but I'll overuse the word I on purpose. But what really mattered were the relationships that I'd either built or other folks had built that decided to use me. So I told her, I said, hey, why don't we do Relationships Matter, I Don't? That'd be a really good uplifting title for next year's promotional video. All right, so make sure I go there. So let's quickly talk about the difference between, everybody talks about networking. Networking, any direct connection to an individual, this is not Webster, this is Chris Booker's definition, by the way. That's a network. And I always think of network as all my LinkedIn friends or all my former Facebook friends, I guess. Those are people that I have a connection with of some sort. So everybody in this room, connection through Vanderbilt. Relationships a little bit different. So we kind of coined this within our office, but it's an intentional effort to meaningfully connect to an individual in your network. Two really big distinctions, because everything you look at or Google online is how do I build a network? What does a network look like? How do I use a network? And I think a lot of people forget that it's really about relationship. It is not transactional. All right, let's go through just a couple of stories. Again, my career journey, very similar to half the people in this room. I went to Vanderbilt. I barely graduated. I'm going to use the word I many, many times here on purpose. I played football. I did engineering and economics. I was as confident can get coming out of school, like most college athletes are a little overconfident. And I decided that, hey, Nashville's a great city. I want to stay here. So I started meeting with people. I started showing my resume. I started looking online. I started doing a lot of things. Fortunately, and I'm not going to show you her face because she just retired, there was a lady in the Vanderbilt football office who was in charge of donations. Her whole world was working with high net worth individuals to donate to Vanderbilt. And she said, hey, why don't I introduce you? I'm not supposed to do this, but why don't I introduce you to some really prominent Nashville folks that can help you out? So, by the way, my design team went a little crazy on the design on this, so there's going to be some interesting slide transitions on here. But she introduced me to this individual, Prior Smart. He's actually a leading private equity individual here in Nashville. Incredibly smart. We had breakfast, and one of my favorite things about him is we went to breakfast, and I was a broke college kid. And I remember I had literally a $20 bill in my pocket, and I was praying that wherever we went, because I'm asking him as a college kid, that I would buy. Of course, he definitely did not let me by. We had a great conversation, but the one thing he said, well, why aren't you asking who else you should meet with? And that's when I realized that my network was very broad, but what it really mattered was the relationships this individual had built. So he introduced me to David. David, fantastic guy. He's an entrepreneur, patient-focused, healthcare entrepreneur here in town, really smart. Actually, 10 years later after I met with him, I actually used his office whenever I was interviewing for the current position that I have now. So really, both of these individuals know today. And then David introduced me to this bald individual who was my boss and partner for 10 years, Jim Phillips. One thing that was interesting about this whole thing is the only reason they met with me is, see, we got all these great lines, is because they all had a relationship with each other. They were business associates, they were friends, they went to college together and got their MBAs here at Vanderbilt together and had wives that knew each other, and they used their relationships to help me out. All right, the provider trust example. So Mr. Phillips was running a family office at the time. I joined this wonderful family office, and as an associate and analyst and associate, my job was to help with M&A and make investments. We raised a small early stage seed fund. And as a junior guy, my job was to go out and find really innovative companies to invest in these seed funds. So I met with this individual. This is Mike Rosen. Mike Rosen is a fantastic individual. He was a C-suite at a publicly traded company. He had all the credentials of a fantastic executive that you would want to back in a seed fund. We met 2 to 3 times a week because he had this idea. He had this idea that I want to track the licenses and credentials of all these nurses. It's a big problem in healthcare because if a nurse or a physician doesn't pay their student loans, they can't practice. If they practice and bill Medicare, they can get 3x the fine. It's actually a really big problem because as a hospital, how do I know if my nurse didn't pay her or him and her didn't pay or a physician if she didn't pay her student loans or didn't get a CPR certificate? One of the top orthopedic surgeons here at Vanderbilt got pulled off from doing surgery because they didn't have their CPR certificate. They just forgot, like it's every 5 years, I got to do it. Had to wait a whole week. Well, from a revenue standpoint, career standpoint, that's a big, big challenge. The problem was, and I like to joke with Mike, he could barely turn on his computer. He was not a tech whiz, and he was trying to build a tech solution. So one day, I was single and an idiot and went to a party, and I met this guy, Chris Redditch. He was there hanging out. I was introduced to him by one of my best friends, Brett. Chris Redditch was this young, upper 20s, built up this tech company. He says, hey, I want to talk to you. Got a really innovative company idea. I want to build a technology that helps doctors and nurses manage their credentials and licenses so that they will never have any issues or problems. And I was like, wow, this sounds really familiar. I'm working with somebody who's a fantastic executive. So I said, guys, I've got this brilliant idea. You guys should meet. You should talk. This is a $100 million plus company. Turns out it was. You guys should meet. So they got together, they met. We met for 2.5 hours. We came out, I felt like $1 million. Hey, I'm a junior guy, just put a great seed investment together. These guys are gonna lead it. And both of them called me that night and said, yeah, that's not gonna work. I made a big mistake. These two didn't have a relationship together. They are two individuals that are building something that's about as intimate as it gets, which is a company, your baby, and they're saying, you want me to split my baby with this person? You want me to marry and make this my stepdad? No, that's my baby. And it took 3 months, every 2 to 3 times a week, getting them together, sharing ideas. Looking back now, it was them building a relationship with each other. they decided to launch this business, put a couple $100,000 into it. It's today one of the most successful healthcare technology companies here in Tennessee. They're very good friends. Their families know each other, and it's a relationship they built. Fast forward 10 years later, I had a joke with them. I said, hey, when you guys have a major transaction, you guys owe me a $5 footlong from Subway. Now, this is when you could get a $5 footlong from Subway. God bless inflation, you can't do it anymore. So, 6 months later, they took me up on it. 10 years after we sat in a room with a business plan idea, they decided that the relationship I built and the relationship I continue to build with them mattered. I had this great idea. There's a lot of eyes in that conversation. Nothing mattered except for that relationship. All right, Frist Cressey Ventures. So Frist Cressey Ventures is a healthcare venture capital firm. I'm a partner. We launched it 6 years ago. We're on Fund 3, have several $100 million of valuation. We've been very fortunate to be a top decile fund in both Fund 1 and Fund 2. I think there's going to be a speaker later today that's going to scare you away from being a venture capitalist, but we've been very fortunate to have a lot of success. I get a phone call 7 years ago, and the individual on the bottom right, Senator Bill Frist, an incredible individual, incredible in this community, also one of the best-known healthcare persons, said, hey, can you meet with me Thursday at 2? If Senator Frist ever calls, the answer is always yes. He said, hey, I want to do a venture fund. Me and Brian Cressey have been working on a concept and an idea of launching a venture fund to really improve healthcare. We'd love for you to partner with us, join us in this mission. I said, great. He said, all right, I want you to go think about it, put some ideas together, come make a pitch. I had this beautiful, I've done 50 transactions in my career. I had tons of experience in early stage healthcare. About 60% of my transactions were in healthcare. I had a brilliant idea on how to launch this new fund. I didn't really matter. I met with them several times. What really mattered in that, looking back, were these two individuals. One of them is Dr. Martha Presley. Dr. Martha Presley is a triple door. So for you double doors, she upped you one. She is also, was Senator Frist's policy advisor at the time, who just happened to be my wife's best friend since childhood. Their relationship helped me. The other is Landon Gibbs. Landon Gibbs is one of the best investors in town. We've done 6 investments together. Wonderful man, wonderful father, wonderful husband, somebody that I truly admire as a friend. Now, this photo makes him look like he's 25. He's not. He's my age. But I got a good photo of him. He had a great relationship with Senator Frist. So when Senator Frist was going, hey, we're doing this search, who should we meet with? He asked these 2 people, as well as 5 very prominent Nashvillians that I didn't want to put on here, that I had just happened to make an investment with, sat on the board with. We exited, brought them in, and they had made some good money. So while I thought I had this great idea and this great plan and this great opportunity, and what really mattered was Senator Frist saying, I want to use my relationships to understand who this person is. So thanks to Landon Gibbs, Dr. Martha Presley, and the 3 other individuals that I talked about and that knew me, they used their relationships to say, yes, this guy can actually get it done. All right, that's my family. Look at those kids. Career is one thing, but relationships are throughout your entire your life, right? Whether it's career, if it's faith, if it's family. So I love this. So on the left is my middle child. That's Jack. Jack is a junior chess master. He's not really a junior chess master, but he beat my wife in chess. He's actually really, really, really smart. He gets that from my wife. On the right side, my daughter, she is 8 years old. She reads, she's in 2nd grade, reads at a 7th grade level. I love that little girl because she reads more books this month than I've read in my entire life. She's also was very disappointed when she was about 4 years old because we kind of said, oh, I think Hillary Clinton's going to win, just talking about, she was talking about the things on the news. And she said, man, I want to be the first female president. So that's your first female president. I hope I raise the first female president. And then there's Griffin. That's my 2-year-old. Ignore the outfit. I promise you that was not my idea. My 2-year-old is in the 99th percentile of height, of weight. Coach Lee here at Vanderbilt's already offered him 3 scholarships. And he is definitely the cutest kid that I've seen wearing the craziest knee-high socks you could look at. I love these kids. I had absolutely nothing to do with this entire picture. The person that was able to make this picture happen was this beautiful woman. She's going to kill me. Because about 3 days ago, I said, hey, I got this speech. I need a picture of you. And she said, no. And so I took this one because she fell asleep. Why? Because she's the one that makes everything happen. Wait, I think my design team. There it is. I put a little heart. This godly, incredibly awesome woman is why I have those kids. My relationship with her is why those kids are successful, thriving. She's the one that does it all. Now I feel bad putting the picture up here, but it's great. So I think, yeah, here's the whole family picture and cute. A lot of people think about relationships. They actually don't even think about their own family. But how important it is, you've seen so many people stumble in their careers by not having a true relationship with their spouse and definitely not having a relationship with their kids. So I encourage you to continue to do that. All right, I want to do something recent. And there's a company called Monogram Health. I kept hearing from health plans. We have a lot of health plans that are investors. And they are all putting teams together for kidney care, not to get too deep into healthcare jargon. But kidney care is a major issue. Give you a couple examples. So dialysis is what happens when your kidneys fail. The federal government guarantees dialysis. Today, the federal government spends 1% of their entire federal budget on dialysis. Think about that, 1%. So all of federal budget for education is 2%. So 600,000 people are on dialysis, so it's a major cost. The average person passes away, or not 8% of people pass away the first 3 months they start dialysis. It's a major, major issue. Well, every health plan is trying to figure out dialysis. They're putting teams together. So I was like, hey, this is a great idea. Let's figure out how to fix this. So I met with a bunch of physicians. You'll hear it more and more. I met with a bunch of physicians and I came up with a risk model that I was like, this is great. I had my whole team pulled together. I was working night and day trying to come up with a way to fix this problem. People were dying. We were losing money as a society. People weren't getting the care they need. Home dialysis rates are still about 10, 11% here in the United States. They're up to 30% in other countries. Think about that. 55-year-old father or mother has to drive every 3 days to get dialysis for 4 or 5 hours. When other countries, they plug in at night, get their dialysis while they sleep, they wake up and have breakfast with their kids. Major issues throughout the country. So I created the plan. I decided that we're going to put this fantastic team together. I convinced my partner, Senator Frist, a guy by the name of Frist Cressey, that this is something we should spend time on. Oh, what else did I think I did? Well, I finally found somebody that we wanted to partner with. That's a neat little arrow. This is Mike Ukren. Mike Ukren is the former CEO of a health plan. And I pitched this, and we needed a CEO. And he said, this is fantastic. And he figuratively and almost literally patted me on the head and said, this is cute, but let's talk about how this could actually work. All of my eyes, all of my effort, all of everything I did, it took somebody like him to sit down, build a relationship with, be our partner to help launch this business. We spent 4 months working together. After 4 months, he decided to move his family cross country. This was about 3 years ago. And me and him became really good friends, and we launched this company together. Here's part of his leadership team. This is Dr. Ray Akeem. He's actually a Vanderbilt, former Vanderbilt employee. Actually, I think he's still working here some. He is the #1 leading nephrologist in the country. Nephrologists actually work with people with kidney disease. He was the former chief medical officer of Fresenius, the world's largest dialysis provider in the country. How the heck did we get the world's leading nephrologist to join a startup in Nashville? Senator Bill Frist had a fantastic relationship with this individual. We were able to bring him on board. Guys, I'm just literally going to go through the leadership team. Chris Chi. Chris Chi's one of the best operators I've seen. I haven't seen him smile in 3 years. That's how great of a COO he is. Oh, they actually got him smiling on this picture. He didn't just join some startup. He had a relationship with Mike Ukrin. They had worked together for almost 10 years and had a strong relationship. So Mike said, I need a CEO. I have the right person. Seema Vernam. For any healthcare folks, you will recognize her. She ran CMS for 4.5 years. Her budget was $1.4 trillion. She helped push through the legislation around kidney care and some of the initiatives that Medicare is doing. Speaker, author, mother, she's just fantastic. And the reason why we got her to join the board, Senator Bill Frist. Senator had been working with her about how do I transition out of government. It's one of his things he works on is folks that are transitioning. They built a great friendship and a relationship. We were able to have her join. Oh, Bob. So this is our Senior Vice President of Finance for Monogram Health. He is by far the #1 at-risk finance person in town. He is one of the smartest people you'll ever meet. And we needed somebody to really understand the financial side of this business. I didn't post it on the internet. We started talking to people. 4 people that I trust and respect, that I had built relationships with, that Mike had built relationships with, all said, you got to go get Bob. Navi Health here in town. He ran all their risk stuff for Navi Health. Then another company, that Pop Healthcare as well. And just a brilliant guy. The only reason he decided to join is because the relationships he had said, this is a fantastic opportunity for you. This is Todd. TPG, one of the largest, most respected private equity firms, decided to come down market and invest in our most recent round. Raised $180 million. Todd was just rang the bell for taking TPG public. One of the managing partners of the entire TPG, working on a startup. 2 reasons. 1, his father, kidney issues, so he's passionate about it. 2, Mike Ukrin worked with Todd at the last business. So when we were looking for a finance partner, Todd said, heck yeah, I want to back this guy again, and I want to have a beer with him. Because they were friends, they knew each other, and actually had a very good relationship. So I say all that, this is the leadership team of this company. While we had come up with a great idea, we'd done all the research. In our world, what really mattered were these relationships. Today, company has, 500 employees or so. We've got tens of thousands of patients that we're managing. The average home dialysis rate, I think, is now 23%. So I can't tell you how many stories of people now can actually stay at home, be with their kids, be with their family, be with their spouses, because we have a program to go into the home, wrap services around them, help these patients out. Roughly 1 out of 10 patients pass away on dialysis in the first 3 months. Of the tens of thousands of patients that we've had, as of this minute, 0 people have died. 0. Because of a clinical model that the relationships have built. I'm really excited about that. And then, yeah, it's a billion-dollar company. It's growing. We're in 40 states. That's all fantastic. Every board meeting, every conversation we have opens up with a story about a patient that we have helped by taking this broken model we all know is healthcare, finding a different way, and using our relationships to help grow it. when I started doing this, what I realized, if you look at their entire leadership team, their entire board, their entire advisors, you could have this giant web, and I'm sure there's some data science folks here that talk about the relationships that each one of these individuals had. Oh, yeah, Katrina, there's one more. Katrina worked with Mike, worked with Chris, and joined us, even though she said, I only want to work for big companies, joined us because of the relationship she had. She leads all the clinical ops side. A couple takeaways. So we got a minute and a half. One, this is wrong. Not digitally track your network. You do that through Facebook, you do that through LinkedIn. Digitally track your whatever I've been talking about the whole time. Relationships, that's it. Digitally track them. Get a free CRM. When you meet with somebody, I met with Chris Booker at this conference. He did this. This is the date. Real simple. Not many people do it, but when you look up 5, 10 years later, you'll have a massive Rolodex of people that you actually have relationships with. This is an old sales trick, never eat alone. I'm a big believer. Every Friday morning, carved off. I have breakfast with somebody every Friday morning, and I make sure I'm intentional about the relationships that I'm building. And then the last, this is something the mentor told me to say, and I'm going to recommend you guys do it. You know, relationships are not transactional. You're not trying to get out somebody. You're not trying to get something out of them. What you're trying to get is build a relationship. So the one question I recommend you asking is, what is one way I can help you? With that, if there's one way I can help you, please let me know. Thank you very much.